Chapter 51. 51. Welcoming the new director. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 51. Welcoming the new director. Translator. Nyo-i.bo Studio Editor. Nyo-i.bo Studio, the capital of the Great Xia Kingdom, the Devil Slayers Division's headquarters. As a special organization in the Great Xia Kingdom that was used to deal with strange incidents, in a place like the Devil Slayers Division's headquarters, let alone ordinary people, even those officials who were high and mighty in the eyes of mortals did not dare to rashly come here or make a fuss nearby. This was not only because the people in the Devil Slayers Division were all extraordinary people with cultivation. It was also because the Devil Slayers Division was a special existence that was independent of the Great Xia Kingdom's government. In the mortal world of the Great Xia Kingdom, there had always been a saying. Once the black-robed smiled, it would be hard to determine if one could live or not. The black-robed referred to the devil-slaying practitioners in the Devil Slayers Division. This was because the devil-slaying practitioners' standard attire was a gorgeous black uniform. And the reason why such a saying circulated in the Great Xia Kingdom was that if a mortal met a devil-slaying practitioner, there would only be two situations. One was that they had encountered a strange incident and had no choice but to go to a devil-slaying practitioner. The other was that one had done something that even the government couldn't handle, so the devil-slaying practitioners had to deal with it. For example, offending someone in the Devil Slayers Division. No matter which situation it was clearly not a good thing for mortals. After all, the former would present the possibility of losing one's life, but one might even suffer a fate worse than death if it were the latter. Therefore, the expressions of most people would change upon mention of the Devil Slayers Division. They hoped that they would never see a devil-slaying practitioner in their lifetime. With such a mentality, the people thus produced all kinds of rumors about the Devil Slayers Division's headquarters. For example, the Devil Slayers Division's headquarters was the place where all the vengeful souls and evil spirits in the Great Xia Kingdom were punished. It was filled with imprisoned ghosts and evil spirits, as well as some extremely evil people. A mortal would lose 3 years of their life just by looking at those beings from a distance. Therefore, even though the Devil Slayers Division's headquarters was located in the central area of the capital of the Great Xia Kingdom, the area was very deserted and few people came. Only a few of the Devil Slayers Division's subordinate organizations and the family members of some of the internal members lived in this area. This gave the area a unique name. The Devil-Suppressing Lane. At such a place where ordinary people's expressions would change the moment it was brought up, it currently showed a completely different scene from what outsiders imagined. A group of devil-slaying practitioners in black were standing respectfully in the courtyard as if they were waiting for someone to arrive. Devil Slayers Division's headquarters, front courtyard. Have you heard? The current director's term has ended. He has been called back to his celestial sect. The old director has left. Do you know who the new director is? Nope. In the past 50 years, the director has always been directly chosen from one of the 4 great practitioners in the division. But this time, the new director has come straight from the sect. No one knows who he is. Just as 2 ordinary devil-slaying practitioners were whispering to each other, another devil-slaying practitioner couldn't help but interrupt, so be it if the new director comes straight from the sect. Although the Devil Slayers Division is extremely terrifying in the eyes of the mortals, we know our own situation. In front of those true disciples of the celestial sects, what difference is there between us and the mortals outside? We're just dogs that will come and go at their beck and call. No matter who becomes the director, our situation will not change. We are just unlucky people who will be sent to die at any time. Hearing the negative words of their comrade, the devil-slaying practitioners next to him did not refute his words. After all, the actual situation was not much different from what he had said. They, the devil-slaying practitioners, were cultivators. However, most of the cultivators in the Devil Slayers Division were only at the Chi cultivation stage. Only a few of them had decent strength and could reach levels 7 or 8 of the Qi cultivation stage. With just the cultivation of levels 7 or 8 in the Qi cultivation stage, one could already be a silver rank practitioner in the Devil Slayers division. In the Devil Slayers division, the ranks of the Devil Slaying practitioners were divided into gold, silver, copper, and iron. Metal rank practitioners were usually cultivators below level 3 of the Qi cultivation stage or martial artists who had mastered internal force. Bronze rank practitioners were cultivators between levels 3 and 5 of the Qi cultivation stage or martial artists with decades of internal force. Silver rank practitioners were cultivators between levels 5 and 9 of the Qi cultivation stage or martial artists who had boundless internal force and blood Qi. Lastly, gold rank practitioners, who were also known as great practitioners in the Devil Slayers division, were all cultivators who had reached the foundation establishment stage or martial artists who had broken through to the innate realm. With such strength, once they encountered some tricky and strange incidents, it was very well possible that iron rank and copper rank practitioners suffered heavy casualties and even be completely annihilated in a fell swoop. This had been the case with the previous Zombie Keeper incident. Before Meng Ruiyan's arrival, the Qingyun sect had already sent 2 disciples to investigate the situation. In those 2 operations, the disciples of the Qingyun sect did not investigate by themselves but brought many Devil Slaying practitioners with them. However, both operations ended in complete annihilation. Even the whereabouts of the 2 Qingyun sect disciples were unknown. It was also because of this situation that the Qingyun sect finally sent out a foundation establishment stage disciple, Meng Ruiyan. Thanks to the demoness Meng Ruiyan's profound cultivation, she managed to deal with the celestial zombie sex Lu Mo, who was hiding in the suburbs of the capital. Therefore, the practitioners were very nervous about the new director. They were deeply afraid that this new practitioner would be the kind of person who only knew how to exterminate devils and protect the Tao, and was inflexible. If that was the case, they would be in for a good time. After all, in many cases, one couldn't just rely on hot-bloodedness to exterminate devils and defend the Tao. One also had to pay attention to the methods of doing so. This was especially true for Qi cultivation stage cultivators like them. If they attacked rashly without any preparation, they would only lose their lives in vain. Most of the Qingyun sect's disciples didn't care much about the lives of these ordinary practitioners. If they could exchange the lives of these people for useful information, they even felt that it was a good deal. It was not wrong to call them domestic dogs. At least, in the eyes of most of the Qingyun sect's disciples, these practitioners were just dogs that they had raised in the great Xia kingdom. As a result, the emotions of the devil slaying practitioners were very complicated at the moment. They were all wondering what kind of person the new director was. This welcoming ceremony that was specially organized for Lu Yuan lasted until evening. Just as many were suspecting that the new director might not come today, a ray of green light streaked across the sky. Then, in everyone's surprised, confused, or shocked gazes, Lu Yuan rode his sword and landed in the middle of the courtyard in front of the Devil Slayers division. After Lu Yuan landed, he started to size up his surroundings. While he was doing so, 4 Devil Slaying practitioners wearing masks, black clothes, and gold tokens walked to Lu Yuan. May first ask if you are Celestial Master Lu of the Qingyun sect. Hearing this, Lu Yuan looked in the direction of the voice. What entered his eyes was a masked man in the lead. Yes, that's me, Lu Yuan said indifferently. As soon as he said that, the Devil Slaying practitioners around him immediately knelt. Even the 4 gold rank great practitioners were no exception. The Devil Slaying practitioners welcomed the arrival of the new director. The loud voice and synchronized movements were rather shocking. Looking at the grand scene in front of him, Lu Yuan, who had been cooped up in the mountains for 20 years, was more or less not used to it. Wait. He just got here, and these guys were already putting up such a grand welcome. But you don't say. It did feel quite good. Chapter 52. 52, this theory using test your boss. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 52. This theory using test your boss. Translator. Nyo.bo Studio Editor. Nyo.bo Studio, alright. You can all get up. I'm not the kind of person who likes to be overly formal. Everyone just needs to go through the motions and show some courtesy. Lu Yuan's slightly joking words caused everyone to be stunned. The 4 gold-rank great practitioners exchanged a look and stood up. With the great practitioners taking the lead, the rest of the ordinary practitioners also rose to their feet. After everyone had stood up, Lu Yuan looked at the 4 masked men and asked, "The 4 of you must be the gold-rank great practitioners in the Devil Slayers division, right?" 2. Upon hearing this, the gold-rank great practitioner, who had been in the lead when welcoming Lu Yuan, stepped forward and began to introduce themselves. Director Lu, I'm the gold-rank great practitioner, Crane. This is the gold-rank great practitioner, Lion.ape. The other 2 are Firebird and Iron.ox. Firebird and 1 are celestial cultivators, while Lion.ape and Iron.ox are innate stage martial artists. Innate stage martial artist. Lu Yuan was not too surprised when he heard this term. This was because he had already known about the existence of martial artists in the Devil Slayers division before he had come. From the information he had, innate stage martial artists were equivalent to Foundation establishment stage cultivators. They were a group of people who had cultivated inborn vitality, a kind of blood chi power that was not weaker than spiritual energy. As there were no martial artists in the Qinyan sect, Lu Yuan was not clear about the strength of an innate stage martial artist. However, to be able to compare with Foundation establishment stage cultivators, they were definitely not weak. At the thought of this, Lu Yuan decided to interact with these 2 innate stage martial artists later. He wanted to see the difference between martial artists and celestial cultivators. However, that could be done in the future. Lu Yuan, who was not used to being surrounded by so many people, began to disperse the people around him. Alright. There's no need for everyone to stand here. Go back and rest. As for me, I just need someone to show me around. The others can go do what you have to do. Don't let your work be delayed because of me. By the way, remember to be careful when you leave. One don't want to hear news of someone unlucky getting into trouble right after my arrival. Lu Yuan's slightly concerned and humorous words not only warmed the hearts of many people, they even laughed out loud. This new director seemed to be completely different from the previous directors. After that, the crowd took a deep look at Lu Yuan before they got up and left. Only the 4 gold-rank great practitioners remained by his side. Unlike the apprehension they felt at the beginning, the ordinary practitioners looked much more relaxed when they were leaving. This was because Lu Yuan's attitude towards them had surprised them. In the past, the disciples who came from the Qinyan sect were all high and mighty. Even if some were gentle, the contempt that was carved in their bones would still be faintly shown. It was the same logic as how one might treat a dog well, but one would never respect a dog. Yet now, from Lu Yuan's expression and words, the practitioners felt a respect that they had not felt for a long time. This feeling could not be described in words, but it was real. This new director really treated them like humans, upright people. This attitude warmed everyone's hearts. They did wonder if Lu Yuan was just pretending or if this was his true attitude. Most people still hoped for the latter. After all, no one wanted the person they worked for to be a cold-blooded and arrogant person who treated them like domestic dogs and livestock. What they did not know was that Lu Yuan's attitude was indeed not fake. Even though he was now in the celestial cultivation world, some things were engraved in his bones. For example, treating everyone equally. In Lu Yuan's eyes, celestial cultivators were humans, and ordinary people were also humans. Denying mortals was the same as denying one's past self. After everyone had left, the 4 gold-rank great practitioners standing beside Lu Yuan took off their masks and revealed their true faces. To Lu Yuan's surprise, one of the gold-rank great practitioners was a beautiful middle-aged woman. Seemingly noticing Lu Yuan's shock, great practitioner Crane said with a smile, "Director Lu, my real name is Shang Yun. This is my wife, Firebird Fong Ru. She and I were cultivators who had escaped from the devilish lands in the west in our early years. Fortunately, we were taken in by the Qingyun sect and finally found a place to stay in the Devil Slayers division." Even though Crane Shang Yun said this in a very relaxed manner, Lu Yuan could feel the bitterness in his words. The two were not very old, only about 50 or 60 years old. To be able to cultivate to the foundation establishment stage at this age, their talents were definitely not bad. Logically speaking, they were completely qualified to join the Qingyun sect. However, perhaps it was because the two were originally cultivators from the Devilish Ways territory, the Qingyun sect didn't trust them. As such, they were arranged to be in the Great Xia Kingdom's Devil Slayers division. Apart from this cultivator couple, Lion.Ape and Iron.Ox looked like the typical martial artist. Those bulging muscles were even more exaggerated than Schwarzenegger's in Lu Yuan's previous life. One look and one could tell that their strength was amazing. At the same time, Lu Yuan glanced through their interfaces. Shang Yun, Crane, Cultivation. Foundation Establishment Stage, Level 2, Cultivation Technique. Cloud Crane Technique, Foundation Establishment Chapter, Fong Ru, Firebird, Cultivation. Foundation Establishment Stage, Level 1, Cultivation Technique. Flame Origin Breathing Technique, Foundation Establishment Chapter, Lu Wu, Lion.Ape, Cultivation. Tier 2 Innate Stage Martial Artist, Cultivation Technique. Lion.Ape Scripture, Zhangtiniu, Iron Bull, Cultivation. Tier 1 Innate Stage Martial Artist, Cultivation Technique. Iron Armor Technique. After roughly looking through their cultivation techniques and abilities, Lu Yuan slightly let down his guard. From the looks of it, the cultivation techniques and divine abilities that they had learned were normal. They didn't practice any cultivation technique that was obviously evil. Judging from this, the Devil Slayers division in the capital of the Great Xia Kingdom seemed to be very clean, and there were no spies. However, it made sense after thinking about it. After all, the Devil Slayers division was a violent organization with many cultivators. The Qingyun sect must have performed layers of checks before selecting their members to prevent the infiltration of spies. In addition, the director of the Devil Slayers division changed almost every 10 or 20 years, and the staff turnover rate was quite high. Therefore, it would be difficult to plant a mole here. After all, God knows if the next director would come straight from the sect or be someone from the divisions who was promoted. There was great uncertainty. Just as Lu Yuan was secretly observing the few of them, Crane, who was quite knowledgeable in the ways of the world, seemed to have thought of something and secretly glanced at his wife. Seeing this, Firebird Fong Ru seemed to understand her husband's plan. After rolling her eyes at her husband, she took the initiative to say, "Director Lu, it's getting late and my children are still young. Please allow me to leave and take care of my children." Lu Yuan was stunned for a moment before he nodded and said, "Indeed, we can't leave the children alone. You should go back first. Remember to be careful on the road." "Thank you for your concern, Director Lu. One shall take my leave now." After Firebird Fong Ru, Crane Shang Yun and the other two exchanged glances as well. A moment later, the middle-aged men revealed meaningful smiles. Crane Shang Yun came to Lu Yuan's side and said with a smile, "Director Lu, it's getting late, so why don't we find a place to sit down and talk? I just happen to know a place that's suitable for us to talk." Hearing this, Lu Yuan suddenly felt as if the situation was like a subordinate entertaining his superior in his previous life. At the thought of this, Lu Yuan's instinctive reaction was to say, "The place you mentioned. Is it safe?" Crane Shang Yun was stunned. After pondering for a moment, he seemed to have understood something. He said meaningfully, Director Lu, that place is quite safe. After a moment, Lu Yuan stood in front of the Drunken Cloud brothel, which was only one lane away from the Devil Slayer's division. His face was stiff, and his eyes were dull. He looked at the flirtatious women in thin clothing at the entrance of Drunken Cloud brothel and said helplessly, Crane, is this the safe place you said we could discuss matters in? That's right, Director Lu, this is the right place. Crane Shang Yun nodded with a smile, Director Lu, don't worry. The girls here have been carefully nurtured and won't spread rumors. You don't have to worry about your partner finding out that you're here. It's very safe. Lu Yuan looked at Shang Yun, who was obviously very experienced, and could not help but ridicule him in his heart. He was a man with a wife. How could he come to a brothel? Was his status in his family that high? Also, the safety he had been asking about was in regard to his life. In contrast, the other party's understanding of safety. It seemed to be about the safety of his private life. Were they using this to test their new boss on his first day? Which superior could withstand such a test? You're right. Looking at this place, it would be very safe. You're the best, Practitioner Shang. In the next second, Lu Yuan and the 3 gold-rank great practitioners swaggered into Drunken Cloud brothel. The first internal team. Building of the Devil Slayers division, location. Drunken Cloud brothel. Chapter 53. 53, continue the music and dance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 53. Continue the music and dance. Translator. Nyo.bo Studio Editor. Nyo.bo Studio. Just as Lu Yuan and the rest reached the entrance of the Drunken Cloud brothel, a charming mature woman with heavy makeup immediately came up to them with a smile. Milords, may I ask if you would like to listen to music or drink tea? Do you have any girls you are familiar with? If not, I can introduce them to you. Faced with such professional jargon, Lu Yuan would like to state that this was his first time here and he could not understand it. Since he couldn't understand, he naturally couldn't answer the beautiful woman's question. Fortunately, among them, there was still the experienced practitioner Shang Yun. Shang Yun walked forward and with great familiarity, he took out a banknote and stuffed it into the beautiful woman's chest. He said very calmly, a private room on the 3rd floor. Send over the best girls you have. When the beautiful woman saw Shang Yun's face, she immediately exclaimed in surprise, oh my, to think it's Lord Shang. It's all my fault for having blurry vision due to old age. To think one didn't recognize you just now. Please come in, please come in. Faced with the woman's warm attitude, Shang Yun still maintained his haughtiness. Even so, it didn't make the beautiful woman's enthusiasm weaken in the slightest. That was because Shang Yun's action of stuffing the banknote into her chest just now was really charming. After receiving the tip, the beautiful woman quickly displayed the professional Sindi attitude that the Drunken Cloud brothel should have. Ladies, send the lords to the private room on the 3rd floor. Not long after, a few women wearing provocative clothes came to the side of the 4 with smiles. They held the arms of Lu Yuan and the other 3 naturally as they led them upstairs. During this process, to show that he was not a first-timer here, Lu Yuan tried his best to imitate Shang Yun and put on a classic cold expression. However, in front of the experienced girls, Lu Yuan's attempt to cover up was simply full of flaws. They could easily tell that he had never been to a place like the Drunken Cloud brothel. Coupled with Lu Yuan's young and handsome appearance, the few ladies quickly came up with the image of a rich young master who was not very worldly. The girl who was holding on to Lu Yuan's arm felt as if she had picked up a treasure. Not only did she throw flirtatious glances at Lu Yuan with her beautiful eyes, but in the process of going upstairs, she continued to nudge him with her breasts, to the extent that Lu Yuan almost couldn't hold himself back. Regarding this, Lu Yuan's feelings were very complicated. Truth be told, if she was leading the way, she should just do that. What's the meaning of nudging him so many times with her breasts? Was she showing off her skills? He knew she was very dedicated to her work, but could she please look at the occasion? Couldn't they wait until they were in a quieter place? Soon, they arrived at a private room on the third floor. The private room was decorated in a very antique style. Behind the screen, there was a woman playing the zither. The atmosphere was very good. Lu Yuan could not help but sigh in his heart. As expected of the Drunken Cloud brothel, which was the #1 entertainment venue in the capital. Whether it was the service attitude and attitude of the staff or the decorations along the way, they were all of the best quality. Even Lu Yuan, who had watched countless films in his previous life, still felt a sense of shock. Who said that the ancient people didn't know how to have fun? Not only did they know how to have fun, but they were also quite good at it. In the private room, after everyone had taken their seats, Shang Yun turned to the beautiful woman who had followed them and said, "Let the girls leave first, we have some things to discuss. I'll call you again after everything is over." As he said that, Shang Yun took out a banknote and placed it in front of the beautiful woman. The beautiful middle-aged woman took the banknote and said with a smile, "Then milords, please rest well. When milords are done discussing matters, one can arrange for the girls to come and take care of milords at any time." All right, you can leave now. There's nothing for you to do here." The beautiful woman nodded before bringing everyone away, including the zither-playing woman. When there was no one else in the room, Shang Yun waved his hand and cast a soundless barrier to ensure that no one else could hear their conversation. When everything returned to calmness, Lu Yuan looked at the three of them and asked indifferently, "All right, tell me about the Devil Slayers division situation in the past few years." Shang Yun nodded his head and took out a small enlightenment jade. The so-called enlightenment jade could be taken as the celestial cultivation version of the USB drive. As long as one instilled their spiritual sense into it, the person holding the enlightenment jade would be able to know the information stored in it. Lu Yuan took the enlightenment jade and carefully checked it with the system. Even though he already had a preliminary assessment of Shang Yun and the others, as a steady person, he would naturally not trust others so easily. Caution was the parent of safety. Some things looked like enlightenment jades, but they might be some small bombs. Enlightenment jade, small, effect. Able to store some information. Alright, this was indeed not a hidden weapon that would suddenly explode. After confirming that there was no problem with this item, Lu Yuan held the enlightenment jade and quickly browsed through the information within. There was not much content in the enlightenment jade. It was mainly divided into two parts. A part was the information on the Devil Slayers division's cases in the past 20 years. The other part was information on unsolved cases. Without exception, all the unsolved cases were suspected to involve beings comparable to Foundation establishment stage cultivators, which was why the Devil Slayers division couldn't solve these cases in the short term. Among the cases that had already been solved, Lu Yuan saw two familiar names. One of them was the demoness Meng Ruyan, and the other was the doormat, Qin Yan. Lu Yuan did not really care what Qin Yan had done. He only spent more time browsing through what the demoness Meng Ruyan had done. In these 20 years, the demoness Meng Ruyan had come to the Devil Slayers division 3 times. And for these 3 times, she perfectly solved Foundation establishment stage strange incidents without fail. However, Lu Yuan noticed a detail. The demoness Meng Ruyan took longer to complete the missions. She spent a lot of her time in the Yi family that was in the imperial capital. Other people might not think much of it. After all, the demoness Meng Ruyan was the Yi family's young miss, Yi Tingyu. It was very normal for her to stay in the Yi family for a while to see her relatives. However, Lu Yuan knew very well that Meng Ruyan was not Yi Tingyu. She had no blood relationship with the Yi family. As such, she couldn't possibly be going to the Yi family just to visit her relatives. There must be some secret. That being said, Lu Yuan did not intend to dig out what this secret was. Curiosity killed the cat. His plan here was to get through his 10-year term in office smoothly. Once the 10 years were up, he would immediately leave. In this process, Lu Yuan did not seek to gain merits but to make no mistakes. That it was still the same sentence. He would rather do nothing than make a mistake. After burying the matter of Meng Ruyan and the Yi family in his heart, Lu Yuan looked at the other three and said, "One have a rough understanding of the situation. Today's business will end here. Everyone, please don't be restrained. Today, there is no hierarchy between us, only fate that has brought us together." Hearing this, Shang Yun laughed. Then, he stood up and clapped his hands. Not long after, the room was filled with beautiful women in ancient costumes. Shang Yun looked at the girls around him and said with a smile, "Ladies, you must entertain Lord Lu well today. If he's even the slightest bit unhappy today, then don't even think about running your drunken cloud brothel in the imperial capital. After all, whether the imperial city is in chaos or not is up to us, the Devil Slayers division, to decide. You should understand what I'm saying, right?" Upon hearing this, the girls' expressions froze for a moment before they looked at Lu Yuan with even more fanatical gazes. It was as if they could not wait to display all their methods and make Lu Yuan fall in love with the drunken cloud brothel. Faced with so many passionate gazes, Lu Yuan could not stand it any longer. When Shang Yun saw Lu Yuan's slightly stiff expression, he took the initiative to take on the task of livening up the atmosphere. "Ladies, continue the music and dance." Chapter 54. 54, Luck Item, Evil Buddha Mud Statue, 1, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 54. Luck Item, Evil Buddha Mud Statue, 1, Translator. Nyo I.bo Studio Editor. Nyo I.bo Studio. Crimson gates reek with meat and ale, while on the streets are bones of the frozen dead. In this era where demons and evil were rampant, the noble and powerful in the capital of the great Xia kingdom could still have fun every night. Lu Yuan, who was immersed in meat and ale, naturally wouldn't feel that the scenes he was seeing in the drunken cloud brothel were the projection of the life of everyone in the great Xia kingdom. These scenes could only represent the lives of the influential people in the great Xia kingdom. In the drunken cloud brothel, who could represent the great Xia kingdom's commoners the most? They were undoubtedly the servants in the main hall who were serving tea with their heads lowered. Yet, even though they seemed to be bending over, the lives of these people were actually still better than the vast majority of the ordinary people in the great Xia kingdom. Besides, even the people who were high and mighty in the eyes of ordinary people were also ordinary people who were completely unremarkable in the eyes of the cultivators who were of a higher level. Even among cultivators, there was a strict hierarchy and the difference in status was obvious. It could only be said that whether it was in the mortal world or the celestial cultivation world, some of the most basic things would not change or disappear because of the existence of spiritual energy. That being said, even though Lu Yuan was feeling emotional, he would not think about changing anything. Sometimes, people needed to know their limits. They needed to understand what they could do, what they couldn't do, what they should do, and what they shouldn't do. Lu Yuan did not think that he had the ability to change the world, nor did he have the intention to do so. At most, he would do something within his power on the basis that his safety was guaranteed. After all, he was cultivating immortality and freedom. His excessive steadiness was only out of his instinct to save his life. If he had to live sullenly for the rest of his life, Lu Yuan would rather not cultivate. "I can develop steadily, but I won't accept abandoning my basic self-esteem just to live." Lu Yuan laughed and played with the ladies as he thought to himself. As he thought about it, his eyes started to become dazed. A faint white mist began to appear. Shang Yun and the other two, who had been playing around with the girls, suddenly came to their senses and looked at Lu Yuan in shock. Ordinary people might not understand what Lu Yuan was doing, but the three knew very well. This was the scene of a cultivation breakthrough. Ding! You have comprehended the true essence of cultivation and your Tao heart has become more stable. Cultivation Technique Breeze Mystical Scripture Proficiency plus 3000, Cultivation Technique 9 Guard Tortoiseshell Technique Proficiency plus 3000. I Breeze Mystical Scripture, Level 4. 2200/40001 I9 Guard Tortoiseshell Technique, Level 4. 2200/4000, I Current Cultivation. Foundation Establishment Stage, Level 41. When the breakthrough ended, Lu Yuan also noticed his changes. He could feel the cultivation in his body becoming more profound. Lu Yuan was shocked. He had heard of breaking through in secluded cultivation and in battle, but he had never heard that drinking wine could also help in breaking through. Could it be that he was more suited to drinking and cultivating at the same time? It can't be. There can't be such a ridiculous thing. Just as Lu Yuan's heart was filled with astonishment, Shang Yun, who was at the side, said with a complicated expression, "Congratulations, sir. Your cultivation has improved again." Iron.ox and Lion.ape also hurriedly congratulated him, "Congratulations, sir. You've improved." Even though the girls around them didn't know what had happened, they were good at observing people's expressions. They could tell that something extraordinary must have happened to Lu Yuan. At the thought of this, they congratulated Lu Yuan as well. Hearing the compliments from the people around him, Lu Yuan smiled and drank a mouthful of wine. He did not say anything more. His nonchalant attitude made Shang Yun and the others feel even more that he was unfathomable. Not only did their new director have a unique personality, but even his talent. It seemed to be terrifyingly strong. However, the more capable Lu Yuan was, the happier they, as his subordinates, were. After all, this meant that their backer had become more reliable. The breakthrough could only be regarded as an unexpected joy for the internal team. Building of the Devil Slayers division. After that, the four of them were taken care of by different girls and spent the night in the Drunken Cloud brothel. As he had played with the most beautiful twins in the brothel for a long time last night, Lu Yuan was not very alive the next day. Just as he was about to leave, he ran into Shang Yun. The two walked together, supporting themselves against the wall. As for Lion.ape Lu Wu and Iron.ox Zhang Tiniu, it could only be said that these two were worthy of being innate stage martial artists. Their physical fitness was really good. After a night, they were still in high spirits, which made Lu Yuan and Shang Yun envious. Still, celestial cultivators were not ordinary people. Although he had spent the night fooling about, Lu Yuan recovered in a very short time. There was a good saying that the strongest relationships between men included those who had carried guns together, those who had been classmates, and those who had. Thus, after that night, Lu Yuan's relationship with Shang Yun and the others improved a great deal. However, Lu Yuan simply could not understand how the married Shang Yun managed to stay at the brothel overnight while his wife did not make a scene. Could it be that he had some special housekeeping skills? Just as Lu Yuan was about to ask out of curiosity, a commotion on the street in the distance attracted their attention. A group of people was gathered in a circle in broad daylight as if they were looking at something. One could also hear the faint sound of a woman crying. Filled with curiosity, the four weaved through the crowd and arrived at the center. Chapter 55. 55, Luck Item, Evil Buddha Clay Statue, 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 55. Luck Item, Evil Buddha Clay Statue, 2, Translator. Nyo.bo Studio Editor. Nyo.bo Studio. At this moment, on the street, there was a classic scene of someone snatching a lady. This caused Lu Yuan, who was having a hangover, to instantly sober up. He frowned slightly. The situation looked very familiar. However, for some reason, Lu Yuan felt somewhat displeased when he saw this kind of plot that would only appear in novels. On the street, a fair-skinned woman wearing a white bamboo hat was half-kneeling on the ground and crying. Although the woman was dressed in a plain white morning dress, her enchanting figure and weak posture were still very well displayed. The white veil on the woman's head parted with the wind, allowing others to vaguely see the woman's fair neck and delicate face. Without a doubt, this was a woman with an outstanding appearance. Even the twin courtesans whom Lu Yuan had had fun with last night were inferior to the woman in front of him now. After all, there was still a clear difference in temperament between a layman and a professional, which had nothing to do with appearance or figure. In terms of temperament, the two courtesans could not be compared to the woman who was like a white lotus. After a moment of observation, Lu Yuan and the rest understood the reason for the girl's crying. A group of evil servants surrounded the woman. They didn't touch her and just surrounded her, playing and laughing. However, even though they hadn't made a move yet, just this formation was enough to explain the problem. Not far from the evil servants, a man with a lecherous expression on a tall horse sized up the woman's body. Facing the man's disgusting gaze, the woman was shocked and scared. However, other than looking around helplessly, the only thing she could do was weep. Although many around wanted to be the hero saving the beauty, it was obvious that the man in luxurious clothes was rich and powerful. Therefore, even now, not many dared to help out, afraid of bringing trouble upon themselves. On one side was the classic act of selling one's body to bury one's father, and on the other side was the classic act of a wicked servant and young master. Although the scene was old-fashioned, it would happen almost every once in a while in the imperial capital. Therefore, although the onlookers were furious, no one dared to step forward to stop the evil young master. Noticing that Lu Yuan was frowning as he watched everything, Shang Yun asked, "Director, do you need us to make a move?" However, Lu Yuan's reply was beyond Shang Yun's expectations. It's inappropriate to do so. Although he was displeased, Lu Yuan still felt that it was inappropriate to make a move. He had just arrived and was unfamiliar with the imperial capital. If he acted rashly, he might cause a change that would destroy his 10 years of stable life. Other than that, Lu Yuan had another concern. Could it be that this act of selling her body to bury her father and snatching a lady in broad daylight was, in fact, an act that someone had deliberately put on for him to see? The purpose was to lure him into a trap. This was not Lu Yuan's random thoughts. In his previous life, he had seen many similar plots in the news. For example, ladies who would specifically rent cars in front of hotels to scam the big bosses, then ultimately marry into a rich family. How was this situation any different from that? It was possible that this woman and the young master were in cahoots with each other, and their goal was to catch a big fish here. After all, someone who could make a move at this time naturally wouldn't have a bad heart while having an extraordinary identity. Such a person was a good target to scam. When he thought of this, Lu Yuan finally decided not to meddle in this matter. However, before he could speak, Lion.Ape Lu Wu seemed to have understood something and said, "Practitioner Shang, I understand what the director means. The director is right. It is indeed inappropriate for us to act now. Please think about it, Practitioner Shang. This woman is only trapped, and that evil young master hasn't done anything indecent yet. That means that although the woman is afraid, she hasn't reached the level of despair. If the director were to make a move now, I don't think it would leave a deep impression in the woman's heart. At most, he would only get a word of thanks and a promise that she would repay him in her next life. There's no doubt that there's still a long way to go before the lady will be willing to devote her body to the director and give up her heart. That's why I think what the director meant by saying it's inappropriate is not that it's wrong to attack, but it's not right to do so now." The moment he said that, the three including Lu Yuan were stunned. Lu Yuan was dumbfounded, while Shang Yun and Zhang Tiniu had an expression of, "I see." At this moment, Lion.Ape Lu Wu seemed to have sunk deep into his imagination, unable to extricate himself. In my opinion, the director's word choice is very clever. Not only have these simple words shown a thorough understanding of the human heart, but they also perfectly grasped a woman's psychological change from fear to despair. This is the difference between plain helping and providing timely help. After hearing all this, Shang Yun waited for a while. When he saw that Lu Yuan did not object, he thought that this was indeed what the director was thinking. Hence, he sighed with emotion and said, Clever, indeed, very clever. I have been too narrow-minded and was unable to understand the director's thoughts. Even Zhang Tiniu, who had always been silent, agreed with a muffled voice, although I don't understand what you're saying, I think you're right. Lu Yuan looked at Zhang Tiniu in shock as his body froze on the spot. Good gosh, even an honest man like Zhang Tiniu believed in this nonsense. He hadn't even said anything yet. Why had all three of them understood his intentions? With such imagination, being demon-slaying practitioners was such a waste. The most suitable profession for them should be novelists. Just as Lu Yuan was about to explain that he meant that they shouldn't make a move at all when he said the word inappropriate, a system notification suddenly popped up. Ding! Luck item detected. Evil Buddha clay statue. Luck item. You can obtain the luck within it through a special method. Hearing the system's voice, Lu Yuan looked in a certain direction. On the coffin beside the woman was an unremarkable clay statue of Buddha. There was no doubt that the evil Buddha clay statue mentioned by the system was most likely this thing. He could obtain the luck within it through a special method, huh? Lu Yuan pondered for a moment before raising his head to look at Shang Yun. Practitioner Shang, you really should learn more from Practitioner Lu in the future. He said without batting an eyelash, what I meant just now when one said inappropriate is indeed as he has interpreted. When he heard this, Shang Yun's face was filled with shame as he said, you're right, Director. I'll definitely learn from Practitioner Lu in the future so that I can quickly understand the message you want to convey. Just as the three of them were chatting, the luxuriously dressed young man had already walked over to the woman in the morning dress. My lord, should we make a move now? Seeing this, Shang Yun asked hurriedly. Lu Yuan looked at the luck item beside the woman, the evil Buddha clay statue, and finally nodded. Make your move. It's time to let some people know that they have to pay back for their doings sooner or later. Chapter 56. 56, Give you some face. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 56. Give you some face. Translator. Nyo-i.bo Studio Editor. Nyo-i.bo Studio. Lu Yuan had already decided to intervene in this classic scene of an evil young master snatching a civilian woman. That being said, as a steady person, Lu Yuan had three unshakable principles. First, he must not act on impulse and fight a battle he was not confident in. Second, he would never trust anyone easily, especially women. Third, he must not miss any details that could cause danger. In the short span of 1 to 2 minutes, Lu Yuan had already investigated the two involved and came to a preliminary conclusion. He could deal with this matter. I Su Warner, Cultivation. None, I Luck Talent. Devastatingly beautiful J.I. Luck. 800/1500, devastatingly beautiful. Charm points plus IOO, has a certain charm effect, Chen Wei, Great Xia Kingdom's 6th Prince, Cultivation. Qi Cultivation Stage, Level 3, .uck. 300/300, after looking at their interfaces, Lu Yuan was surprised to find that they were both people with luck. Among them, not only did Su Wan Su have a luck talent, but the upper limit of her yuck reached an astonishing 1,500 points. One should know that even Qin Yen, who had joined the Qinyan sect, only had a maximum of 1,000 points of luck. Yet now, Su Waner, who had no cultivation at all, had a higher luck limit than Qin Yen. What did this mean? This meant that this girl's future was not simple. To be honest, at this point, even if Su Waner didn't have any luck, Lu Yuan would not let the luck item go. After all, it was something that had appeared for the first time. Therefore, the fact that Su Waner had great luck only made him more determined to interfere. Although Lu Yuan was very steady, he would still take the initiative to make a move under certain circumstances. After all, the essence of stability was not to avoid everything, but to make a move only when he was 100% confident in dealing with the other party. The current situation undoubtedly met all the conditions for him to make a move. If this evil young master was someone else, Lu Yuan might have been a little worried. However, this evil young master was the great Xia Kingdom's sixth prince. Lu Yuan was not worried at all about the trouble that might come if he offended the other party. After all, he had already greatly offended the great Xia Kingdom's imperial family in the matter of Qin Yan. In any case, Lu Yuan felt that Qin Yan would find trouble with him sooner or later. By that time, how could the great Xia Kingdom's imperial family, the power behind Qin Yan, not come forward? It was simply a case of owing a larger debt to the same person. Thus, after considering all the factors, Lu Yuan felt that not only would he be able to obtain a luck item, but he would also be able to obtain a number 2 lucky lady. The price was only to offend the great Xia Kingdom's imperial family once again. If offered the same deal again, Lu Yuan would do it 10,000 times. On the street, as time passed, more and more people gathered to watch. The sixth prince, Chen Wei, also seemed to be getting impatient. He got off his horse and walked toward Su Wan'er arrogantly. Seeing this, the servants at the side made way for him. Su Wan'er, who was sitting on the ground, saw that Chen Wei was getting closer. She was so scared that she started to retreat. However, the more she acted like this, the more excited Chen Wei was. He seemed to enjoy the feeling of a cat catching a mouse. Just as Chen Wei was about to touch Su Wan'er, a flying sword stopped in front of him. The sudden flying sword frightened Chen Wei so much that he took a few steps back. Who is it? Who did this? After Chen Wei's angry roar, 4 people walked out of the crowd. The flying sword then returned to one of the golden-masked men. Chen Wei's expression turned ugly when he saw them. He recognized these people. 3 gold tank great practitioners and the Devil Slayers Division's director. The flying sword had been used by the great practitioner, Shang Yun. Damn it, why were the people of the Devil Slayers Division here? At this moment, Lu Yuan and the others were no longer in the casual clothes they were wearing back in the Drunken Cloud brothel. Instead, they were wearing the Devil Slayers Division's exclusive uniform and masks. The masks that were exclusive to the Devil Slayers Division were very special. Not only did they have the function of covering one's face, but they also had the function of stating one's identity. The masks had drawings that represented the wearer's codenames, and the color of the mask represented the status of one in the Devil Slayers Division. The position represented by the golden mask was the gold-rank great practitioners in the Devil Slayers Division. As for Lu Yuan, he had naturally put on his exclusive mask. The color of his mask was slightly different from Shang Yun and the others. It was not gold, but white, a noble color like white jade. As for the drawing on his mask that represented his codename, it was a wisp of beautiful green flame. The current director of the Devil Slayers Division, codename Green Flame. Seeing that the people who came forward were not only 3 gold-rank great practitioners but also the current director of the Devil Slayers Division, Chen Wei was frozen in place. However, he seemed to have something to rely on. After a moment of hesitation, he gritted his teeth and said, "One didn't expect that the gold-rank great practitioners of the Devil Slayers Division would meddle in the matters of the living instead of dealing with the demons and evil in our country. Since when did the Devil Slayers Division have the right to interfere in the matters of the imperial family?" When he heard this, the wily old fox Shang Yun had already thought of an excuse. "I'm afraid there's no misunderstanding, Sixth Prince. We didn't come here to meddle in your affairs. Our purpose is her." The person Shang Yun was pointing at was Su Wan'er. When she saw that Shang Yun was pointing at her, Su Wan'er was stunned. Since when did she get involved with the Devil Slayers Division? Under Su Wan'er's astonished gaze, Shang Yun walked to her side. "Miss, although one just happened to pass by, I can see that your father seemed to have died an unnatural death, so I suspect that there was a demon or evil spirit behind it. Please come with us." Hearing this, Su Wan'er's face turned pale with fear. In the eyes of ordinary people like them, the Devil Slayers division was a devil's den that ate people whole. Few ordinary people who went in came out alive. Asking her to go to the Devil Slayers division was almost the same as sending her to her death. However, Sue Warner thought about the fact that if she didn't go to the Devil Slayers division, she would end up in a worse state. Thus, after hesitating for a moment, she timidly nodded. However, when she was about to get up, Chen Wei shouted angrily, "I don't agree. Today, I will take this woman away. Even the Devil Slayers division won't be able to stop me." Pfft! Almost as soon as Chen Wei finished saying that, a chuckle came from the side. Chen Wei turned around and found that the person who laughed was the new director of the Devil Slayers division, Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan walked to Chen Wei and asked, "The sixth prince, right? Humans have their way, and celestials have their paths. We can't meddle in the affairs of the mortals, but strange and evil affairs like this. You can't do anything about it either." In the face of Lu Yuan's domineering speech, Chen Wei gritted his teeth so hard that he almost broke them. Although the Imperial Family and the Devil Slayers division were two completely independent organizations that didn't interfere with each other, that was only under normal circumstances. No matter how one looked at it, the current situation was not normal. The position of the Devil Slayers division's director was equivalent to the Emperor of the Imperial Family. If Sue Warner was an ordinary woman, Chen Wei would have let Lu Yuan take her away as a show of respect to the Devil Slayers division. However, he couldn't allow that, absolutely not. It was because he was not the one who wanted Sue Warner, but his father who was behind him. Between offending the director of the Devil Slayers division and his father, the sixth prince Chen Wei ultimately chose the former. Chen Wei was silent for a moment and suddenly shouted, eunuchly, "Stop watching. You're the only one who can handle this." Sigh. With a sigh, an old man in a eunuch's uniform appeared behind Chen Wei. Innate stage martial artist, the eunuch of the Imperial Palace, Li Tianlu. Li Tianlu came to Lu Yuan and said with a benign expression, "Director, can you give me some face for today's matter?" Li Tianlu thought that since he had already said that, Lu Yuan should understand that he was actually asking him to give the imperial family some face. Unexpectedly, when Lu Yuan heard this, he laughed. The contempt in his laughter was almost unconcealed. Face. Since when does the Devil Slayers division have to give you, a eunuch, any face when we do things? Li Tianlu's expression turned cold the moment he heard that. It seemed that today's matter wouldn't end well. Chapter 57. 57. Someone asked you to kneel, but I asked you to stand. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 57. Someone asked you to kneel, but I asked you to stand. Translator. Nyo-i.bo Studio Editor. Nyo-i.bo Studio Director, do you really want to let things develop to an irredeemable stage? As he said that, Li Tianlu's body began to emit innate stage energy. The old man was a Tier 2 innate stage master martial artist. Perhaps he thought that he was quite strong, but Li Tianlu said coldly, "Director, I know that you are new here, so you don't know a lot about the rules in the imperial capital. I know that you are a disciple of a celestial sect, and your status is noble, but celestial cultivators are not allowed to easily attack ordinary people. This is a rule set by the celestial sections. Today, since the Devil Slayers division has interfered in the affairs of mortals, it is a violation of the rules. If you continue to bully the weak, I don't think the celestial sects will forgive you easily. Moreover, Director, you may not know this, but the imperial family has many kins and ancestors in the celestial sections. Take our Grand Emperor for example. He is a core formation stage elder in a celestial sect. As such, regarding today's matter, Director, you should reconsider." Lu Yuan looked at him and narrowed his eyes. You're threatening me, right? As soon as he said that, the surrounding air seemed to freeze. Not only Li Tianlu, but even Shang Yun and the others could feel the terrifying spiritual pressure that Lu Yuan was exuding. To Lu Yuan, who had 3 spiritual roots that had achieved foundation establishment through the way of the heavens. Even if he was only at level 4 of the foundation establishment stage, the spiritual pressure he could unleash was comparable to that of a cultivator at level 7 of the foundation establishment stage. Li Qianlu was only a tier 2 innate stage master martial artist, so he was simply unable to resist such spiritual pressure. Bang! Under the heavy pressure, Li Qianlu immediately knelt, and the ground under his knees cracked. Li Qianlu looked at Lu Yuan, his eyes filled with fear. He felt an intense threat of death. To think the new director of the Devil Slayers division wanted to kill him. How dare he? How dare he attack an Imperial Capital's martial artist in the Imperial Capital? Wasn't he afraid of being reproached by the sect? Regarding this, Lu Yuan would like to state that not only did he dare to do so, but he even wished that the sect would reprimand him. Given his current status in Qinyan sect, even if he killed an innate stage martial artist in the mortal world, the sect leader would at most reprimand him and then lock him up. However, was that really a punishment for Lu Yuan? It was clearly a reward. Therefore, the current Lu Yuan was rather fearless. To think the other party didn't even know his actual situation and dared to threaten him. This eunuch had the guts. After using his spiritual pressure to control Li Qianlu, Lu Yuan came before him and said indifferently, "I didn't expect that a eunuch like you would have the guts to threaten me. It seems like the water in the Imperial City isn't as clean as I thought. I'm taking her away. If you have any problems, tell the people behind you to come to the Devil Slayers division to talk to me." After he finished speaking, Lu Yuan walked to Su Wan'er. "Get up." Su Wan'er looked up at the stranger in the white mask in front of her. She stood up shakily and did not dare to disobey. However, just as Lu Yuan was about to take her away, Li Qianlu spoke again. "Wait a moment." Lu Yuan turned around and saw that Li Qianlu was using his innate stage inborn vitality to resist Lu Yuan's spiritual pressure with great difficulty. His hands were on the ground as beads of sweat fell from his forehead. His arms were trembling. But even so, he still looked at Su Wan'er, who was beside Lu Yuan, and said with gritted teeth, "Su Wan'er, I'll make things clear for you today. If you don't come with us today, not only will your father be unable to be buried in peace, but His Majesty will even order him to be demoted to a lowly status, and his descendants will be implicated. You can think about whether you can bear the consequences." Hearing this, Su Wan'er felt as if she had been struck by lightning. As if she had lost her soul, she almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, a pair of strong hands grabbed her slender waist in advance, preventing her from collapsing. Su Wan'er raised her head and realized that the person who was supporting her was Lu Yuan. Through the mysterious white mask on Lu Yuan's face, Su Wan'er could see a pair of clear and calm eyes. She didn't know why, but when she saw those eyes, her originally flustered heart immediately calmed down. After Lu Yuan calmed Su Wan'er, he looked at Li Qianlu who was not far away, as well as the 6th Prince Chen Wei who was so nervous that his teeth were clattering. It was this one glance that made Li Qianlu so terrified that his mouth hung and his pupils dilated. He was horrified to find that his body was burning. All. Li Qianlu let out a blood-curdling screech as his body was suddenly covered by a ball of green flames. He was turned into ashes in a very short time. This sudden scene shocked not only Chen Wei but also Shang Yun and the other two who did not expect this. Their new director didn't seem to be as easy to get along with as they had thought. Other than that, their new director's cultivation seemed to be quite terrifying. At the very least, they did not know when Lu Yuan had made his move, nor how he had killed Li Qianlu in an instant. One should know that Li Qianlu was not an ordinary person. He was an innate stage master martial artist. It could only be said that the disciples of a large sect were different from bumpkins like them. Their methods were very terrifying. To Lu Yuan, using the green flame technique to burn Li Qianlu to death was like burning an ant. It was insignificant. He looked at Su Wan'er, who had a pale face and trembling eyelashes, then said with a smile, someone wants you to kneel, but I want you to stand. Let's go. Don't think that practitioner Shang was joking. Your father's death is not simple." After saying that, Lu Yuan let go of Su Wan'er and walked toward the Devil Slayers Division's headquarters. Su Wan'er was stunned for a moment, then she followed him timidly. As for Lu Yuan's words earlier, she was only half convinced. In other words, she didn't believe that Lu Yuan's purpose for taking her away was completely different from Chen Wei and the others. But even if she didn't believe it, she had no cultivation. What else could she do? Just like that, Lu Yuan's group swaggered toward the Devil Slayers Division's headquarters. Along the way, no one dared to stop them. Even the sixth prince, who had been making a scene just now, didn't dare to say a word, as if he had become mute. In Lu Yuan's study room in the Devil Slayers Division's headquarters. For some unknown reason, after Lu Yuan brought Su Wan'er back to the Devil Slayers Division's headquarters, Shang Yun and the other two quickly disappeared. They each came up with valid reasons for this. Shang Yun said that he had official business to attend to, while Lion.Ape said that he wanted to practice martial arts. Only Iron.Ox stayed standing in the study room like a fool. He seemed to really want to investigate the cause of Su Wan'er's father's death. Fortunately, he was quickly pulled outside by the smart Lion.Ape to practice. With that, only Lu Yuan and Su Wan'er were left in the room. Facing such a situation, especially when the person in the room had just burned a living person to ashes, Su Wan'er would be lying if she said she was not afraid or nervous. She was uncertain if she could avoid being burned to death by Lu Yuan in case she said something wrong. Thus, she could only grab the corner of her clothes with both hands and sit on the chair in the room with her head lowered as if she was sitting on pins and needles. It seemed that she was afraid that Lu Yuan would notice her. However, from the corner of her eyes, she would occasionally glance at Lu Yuan, who was beside the desk. It was obvious that she was afraid of Lu Yuan, but she was also curious. However, the current Lu Yuan didn't have the mood to care about her. He was attracted by two notifications from the system. Ding! As the host has changed the fate of Su Wan'er, the daughter of a dead official, and has thus indirectly changed the fate of the Great Xia Kingdom, you have received 1,500 points of luck value. Current luck value 2552. Saving Su Wan'er had indirectly changed the fate of the Great Xia Kingdom. So it turned out that it hadn't been a show of a tyrant snatching a woman. Instead, it was the plot of King Zhou meeting Daji by chance. As expected of a woman with devastatingly beautiful as her luck talent. She was indeed extraordinary. Other than this unexpected gain of changing the fate of the country, Lu Yuan's other gain from this operation was the luck item, the Evil Buddha clay statue. Luck item. Evil Buddha clay statue, description. A unique clay statue that contains some divinity. It seems to have the function of absorbing and storing luck, Bed-O-M, remark. When the clay statue is destroyed, it may attract the attention of a certain existence. Please treat it with caution. Stored luck. 875/1000, facing this never-before-seen luck item, Lu Yuan couldn't come up with a way to deal with it yet. It was a special Buddha statue that contained divinity and even had the function of absorbing and storing something illusory like luck. No matter how he looked at it, this was not something that could be easily dealt with. It was quite tricky. Just as Lu Yuan was thinking about how to deal with the luck item, a soft and weak voice entered his ears. Sir, can we change locations? Lu Yuan raised his head in astonishment and asked doubtfully, change locations? Why? Su Wan'er's face immediately turned red. However, she seemed to have made a decision. Her eyes turned from lost to determined. She bit her lower lip and said, if it's the study. It's a little, what is it? Lu Yuan was even more puzzled. It's just a little unsightly. Unsightly. Why would the study be? Halfway through his sentence, Lu Yuan's eyes widened in shock. Wait, Was the girl misunderstanding something? He would admit that he was indeed a little greedy for her luck. But he had always been open and above board. He was definitely not what she thought he was. He wasn't a bad guy who liked to snatch women from the streets and rape them. Good guy, Lu Yuan thought guiltily. Chapter 58. 58. People in the city know how to have fun. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 58. People in the city know how to have fun. Translator. Nyo iwo studio editor. Nyo iwo studio. In the study, Lu Yuan looked at Su Wanner's uneasy, nervous, and shy eyes. He was at a loss for a moment. Good Lord, she was such a young girl, and what was her head filled with? It can't be that her brain was filled with nothing else but porn. Although Lu Yuan thought of himself as a lustful man, even he couldn't have sex in such a situation, especially when the other party was someone he had only known for less than a day. Looking at Su Wanner, Lu Yuan shook his head speechlessly and removed his mask. Miss Su, I didn't bring you back for what you think. Just tell me more about your family. After all, Practitioner Shang was not joking with you. Your father's death. There's a good fat chance that there's something strange at work. Su Wanner was stunned when she heard Lu Yuan's words. The repeated emphasis on the same words made her understand that Lu Yuan did not seem to be joking. Her father's death was indeed related to evil spirits. Thinking of this, Su Wanner's nervous mood gradually calmed down. She looked at Lu Yuan's handsome face and began to talk about her past experiences in a gentle tone. As a peerless beauty who was born with a luck talent, devastatingly beautiful, Su Wanner's life was both fortunate and unfortunate. When Su Wanner was young, she was just an ordinary merchant's daughter. Her father, Su Jieping, had become a city tycoon when she was 6 years old because of his good business skills. If Su Wanner's father stopped here, it wouldn't have been a problem for the family to live the life of a wealthy merchant without having to worry about food and clothing. However, humans were insatiable. After obtaining a certain social status, Su Wanner's father, Su Jieping, suddenly felt that there was no future in being a businessman. Slowly, the idea of becoming an official came to him. With his outstanding financial resources, Su Jieping managed to get the position of county magistrate. With his experience as a businessman, Su Jieping's governance was quite good. If that were just the case, Su Jieping's life would have been simply wonderful. Be it as a businessman or an official, he had reached decent heights. However, everything changed when Su Wanner was 10 years old. The reason why she said that was because she felt that her father, Su Jieping, seemed to have changed that year. Su Wanner didn't know what exactly happened that year, but she clearly remembered that her father suddenly returned with a Buddha statue in his arms. She still remembered what her father had said to her while he was holding the Buddha statue. Wanner, whether our Su family can rise to the top in the future will all depend on you. From that day on, Su Jieping's official career became smooth sailing. In just 3 years, he was promoted to become a rank 4 official and the family moved into the imperial capital. This official rank had already reached the standard to enter the palace. That year, Su Wanner had just turned 13. She only found out about her father's plan when they arrived at the imperial capital. To think he wanted her to get close to the current emperor and become the empress of the great Xia kingdom. This was something that Su Wanner, who had always been at home, had never thought of. After all, she didn't think that she was cut out to be an empress. In the second year after Su Jieping entered the imperial capital, rumors began to spread in the imperial capital that the Su family has a daughter who has just matured and is kept in the depths of her boudoir. In an instant, Su Wanner's reputation spread throughout the entire capital. The year Su Wanner turned 14, a banquet was held in the palace. This time, the great Xia kingdom's emperor, Chinda, had specifically asked Su Jieping to bring Su Wanner over. It was obvious that Emperor Chinda was also very curious about the extraordinary daughter of the Su family. Unsurprisingly, Su Wanner was indeed stunningly beautiful that night. Not only did she receive the emperor's praise as an unparalleled beauty, but many high-ranking officials and nobles even took the initiative to propose marriage to Su Jiaping after the banquet. However, Su Jiaping knew what he wanted. Only when his daughter, Su Waner, became the emperor's concubine could he obtain the greatest benefits. After weighing the pros and cons, Su Jiaping decisively rejected everyone who came to ask for marriage. All he wanted was for Su Waner to participate in the selection of consorts 5 years later. These 5 years were also Su Jiaping's most glorious years. Relying on his daughter's glory, he rose all the way to the position of a rank 2 official. Everyone knew what his position meant, and they also understood what the emperor was thinking. The daughter of a rank 2 official was fully qualified to be the emperor's official consort. However, Su Jiaping and the emperor's tacit understanding undoubtedly affected the interests of some people. Almost everyone could see that Su Jiaping wanted to let Su Waner enter the palace, ultimately replacing the current empress and becoming the motherly figure of the kingdom. However, with this, Su Jiaping undoubtedly offended another terrifying interest group in the Great Xia Kingdom. That was the royal relatives with Empress Xiao Yuran in the lead. A person's stance was often unrelated to their personality and intelligence. It was related to one's position. No matter what Empress Xiao's impression of Su Waner was, the fact that Su Jiaping had been promoted to a rank 2 official was undoubtedly a very dangerous signal. Her position as the empress seemed to have been threatened. If she didn't do anything at this time, not only would those who supported her be dissatisfied, but even those who remained neutral would change their stance. As such, unsurprisingly, when Su Waner turned 20, the year she was about to participate in the selection of consorts, unforeseen events occurred. At a palace banquet, Su Jiaping left in the middle of the banquet. Not long after he left, a shocking piece of news came from the harem. Su Jiaping, who was drunk, had actually molested one of the concubines. Under the humiliation, the other party had chosen to die to prove her innocence. Although the whole thing was strange, there were witnesses and evidence. Under the pressure, the emperor could only lock Su Jiaping up in prison. However, perhaps it was for a purpose that everyone knew, the emperor did not implicate the Su family. He only confiscated their property but did not demote the Su family to lowly status. Su Waner's mother died from premature birth, and Su Jiaping had been focusing on his path as an official for the past few years. As a result, he and Su Waner were the only 2 key figures in the Su family. Therefore, such a punishment to the Su family was definitely an act of mercy. As the servants left and the property was confiscated, the huge Su family was gone in an instant. Su Waner was reduced to a commoner. When it rains, it pours. As Su Waner was running around trying to save her father's life, she suddenly received the news that her father had died suddenly in prison. After that, Su Waner wanted to bury her father, but she didn't have any money. As such, she tried to seek help from her father's former colleagues. However, those people were all smart and kept a respectful distance from her. After all, if they chose to help Su Waner, not only would they offend the empress, but they might even offend the emperor. Don't doubt it. This was how suspicious a middle-aged man was. It was also because of these obstacles that resulted in Su Waner's act of selling her body to bury her father today. Su Waner's incident today seemed like an ordinary case of a young tyrant snatching a woman, but in the dark, was it not also the strategic escape plan of a middle-aged lustful man? The emperor asked his son to take the girl away first. This way, even if something happened, he could let his son take the blame. As long as Su Waner did not officially become a concubine, then there would be no threats to Empress Zhao's position. Therefore, it was a happy ending for both sides to let the 6th prince bring Su Waner away. It was the best result after the political games that involved many parties. If the Devil Slayers division hadn't interfered today, Su Waner might have been locked up somewhere in the imperial capital at this point. When he thought of this, Lu Yuan sighed. Good God, these city people knew how to have fun, huh? Some things that looked simple were actually so complicated after careful thought. However, while others might be afraid of Empress Xiao, Lu Yuan was not afraid at all. At the thought of this, Lu Yuan made his decision. I have a rough idea of the matter. I'll get someone to bring you to rest. As for the remaining 1 foot 11 inches, handle it. You may leave. Under Su Wanner's complicated gaze, she was quickly led out of the study by someone. Lu Yuan was left alone in the room, lost in his thoughts as he looked at the evil Buddha clay statue in his hand. Chapter 59. 59. I'm in charge of my lucky lady. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 59. I'm in charge of my lucky lady. Translator. Nyo I.bo Studio Editor. Nyo I.bo Studio. At this point, Lu Yuan had more or less understood the series of troubles he might encounter after taking Su Wanner away. If nothing unexpected happened, someone from the Imperial Palace would soon come looking for him after he brought Su Wanner to the Devil Slayers division. After all, the person who cared the most about Su Wanner, the Great Xia version of Daji, was definitely the current emperor of the Great Xia Kingdom, Qinda. If not for Lu Yuan's interference, Qinda might have already been riding the girl and having fun. Unfortunately, a certain someone who was proficient in NTR had once again turned into a god-sent character and stepped in. After careful calculation, this was not the first time he had taken the Qin family's girls. Back when he was still in the Qi cultivation stage, he had dared to snatch the foundation establishment stage Qin Yan's fiancée. Now that he's already in the foundation establishment stage, what was wrong with snatching the girl of a mortal emperor? As long as he was strong enough, there was no one he couldn't snatch. He vowed to protect Su Wanner, the lucky lady. No one could do anything to her. In terms of appearance, Lucky Lady 2.0 Su Wanner was even more beautiful than the demoness Meng Ruyan. Of course, this was under the assumption that the demoness Meng Ruyan really did look like she did now. Lu Yuan naturally did not think that her current appearance was her original appearance. After all, the demoness was extremely shrewd. She definitely possessed some profound disguising divine ability to assume a fake appearance. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to stay hidden in Qinyan's sect until she became a direct disciple. In fact, before Lu Yuan came to the Great Xia Kingdom, he had been thinking about how to solve the problem of obtaining luck value. After all, after coming to the Great Xia Kingdom, he would be thousands of miles away from the demoness Meng Ruyan, his number one lucky lady. It was a standard long-distance relationship. He couldn't possibly frequently leave the imperial capital and travel thousands of miles just for a bit of luck value, right? Su Wanner's appearance perfectly solved Lu Yuan's problem. Whether it was the upper limit of luck value or the difficulty of obtaining luck, the second lucky lady, Su Wanner, didn't seem to be inferior to the first lucky lady, the demoness Meng Ruyan. At the thought of this, Lu Yuan decided to make a good plan. He wanted to see what he had to do to increase Su Wanner's luck while allowing himself to harvest it easily. This was a skillful job that ordinary people could not do. Only someone as experienced as Lu Yuan could perfectly grasp the scale. As for the luck item, the evil Buddha clay statue, Lu Yuan planned to study it later. After all, no matter how he looked at it, this thing was very strange. He definitely couldn't rashly absorb the luck within. Otherwise, something would definitely happen. Therefore, his focus was naturally on the nurturing plan of Lucky Lady 2.0. As he thought about it, Lu Yuan suddenly felt that something was wrong. Wait a minute, he had aimed for steady celestial cultivation. Why did it seem like he was slowly moving toward the nurturing type celestial cultivation? Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. There must be a problem somewhere in the middle of all this. And just as Lu Yuan was reflecting on himself, Shang Yun suddenly appeared outside the study. Director, someone from the palace has arrived. Someone from the Imperial Palace had come, huh? They were quite fast. Got it. Bring them to the front hall. Yes. Lu Yuan put on his mask, stood up, and walked toward the front hall of the Devil Slayers division. Even though he only wanted to fish in troubled waters and lay low for 10 years, he was still the one who had the final say in the Devil Slayers division in these 10 years. Were they thinking of easily leaving after entering the Devil Slayers division? Did they really think that the steady Lu Yuan didn't care about his face? He wanted to see what other tricks these secular nobles can play. In the face of absolute power, all tricks were meaningless. In the front hall of the Devil Slayers division, a group of people was standing. These people were all fully armed and full of blood qi. One look and one could tell that they were not ordinary people. In this team of 20.1 people from the Imperial Palace, there were 1 innate stage martial artist and 20 nearly acquired stage martial artists. They were the Great Xia Kingdom's trump card, the Imperial Capital's Imperial Guards. The leader was the commander of the Imperial Guards, a Tier 4 innate stage master martial artist, Chu Zheng. Since the establishment of the Devil Slayers division, there had never been a case of the Imperial Guards entering the headquarters of the Devil Slayers division. Before this, the Devil Slayers division and the forces of the mortal world were clearly divided. The two sides did not interfere with each other, which could be considered peaceful. No one expected that just on the second day after Lu Yuan, the new director, arrived, he would let the situation develop to the point where the Imperial Guards entered the Devil Slayers division. If this wasn't handled properly, it could even cause terrifying turmoil. And all of this was actually caused by a woman without any cultivation. Those who had just found out about the inside story all sighed with emotion about the femme fatale. Just as Lu Yuan headed over, the gold and silver rank practitioners of the Devil Slayers division had also arrived at the front hall. They were in a standoff with the Imperial Guards commander, Chu Zheng. However, what was strange was that even though it was the Imperial Guards who came, the ones with serious and nervous expressions were not the practitioners of the Devil Slayers division, but the Imperial Guards. Commander Chu, what kind of wind blew today that made you, a group of Imperial lackeys, swarm to my Devil Slayers division like bees and make a scene? Firebird Fong Ru looked at the Imperial Guard standing in the middle of the hall and sneered. Faced with Firebird Fong Ru's ridicule, Chu Zheng acted as if he did not hear it. Fong Ru wasn't the only one who was fearless. The other practitioners also did not take the Imperial Guards seriously. The power of a secular dynasty was not the least bit threatening to the people in the Devil Slayers division who had no intention of becoming officials. They had joined the Devil Slayers division only because they could obtain the cultivation resources they wanted here. If they didn't have these cultivation resources, unaffiliated cultivators like them could go anywhere. In other words, the only power in the entire Great Xia Kingdom that could make them fear was the Qinyan sect. The Emperor of the Great Xia Kingdom. He should just take care of his mortals and not come here to scam them. To be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that the Qinyan sect had no interest in managing worldly affairs, God knows who would be the Emperor of the Great Xia Kingdom. In the midst of this confrontation, Lu Yuan and Shang Yun appeared in the front hall. Upon seeing Lu Yuan's appearance, the demon-slaying practitioners, who were originally unruly, immediately stood upright. The 4 gold-rank great practitioners bowed respectfully, "Greetings, Director Green Flame." The other practitioners followed suit. "Greetings, Director Green Flame." "Everyone, please save it." "Thank you, Director Green Flame." Seeing Lu Yuan, the Devil Slayers Division's director, appear, Chu Zheng, who had been putting on a poker face, finally opened his mouth. "I am the commander of the Imperial Guards, Chu Zheng." "Greetings, Director Green Flame." Lu Yuan looked at him and said in a flat tone, "Chu Zheng, right. If you can't come up with a reasonable reason to convince me today, then the 20.1 people who entered the door today can just stay here." The moment he said that, a ball of green flame appeared behind Lu Yuan. Immediately after, a terrifying spiritual pressure crushed Chu Zheng and the rest. In the face of the sudden and terrifying spiritual pressure, everyone's expression, including Chu Zheng's, changed drastically. However, To Lu Yuan's surprise, these people seemed to be equipped with some kind of special battle formation. Under Chu Zheng's lead, the 20.1 people seemed to have become one. As such, they could barely resist Lu Yuan's spiritual pressure, though Lu Yuan wasn't serious anyhow. Under immense spiritual pressure, Chu Zheng clenched his jaw and said, reporting to Director Green Flame, I'm here by His Majesty's order to ask the Devil Slayers Division to hand over the daughter of a criminal, Su Wanner. I hope the director can be flexible and not hurt the peace. Upon hearing this, Lu Yuan laughed. He did not answer Chu Zheng's question directly but turned to look at Shang Yun. Practitioner Shang, they want me to hand someone over. What do you think one should do? When the wily old fox Shang Yun heard this, he smiled and said, Director Green Flame, we don't have a woman named Su Wanner in the Devil Slayers Division. We can't hand her over if we don't even have her. Thus, I'm afraid that we'll have to disappoint Commander Chu and His Majesty today. Lu Yuan nodded his head in satisfaction and then looked at Chu Zheng. Did you hear that, Commander Chu? The person you want is not in my Devil Slayers Division. Chu Zheng's expression changed. Just as he was about to continue saying something, an even more terrifying spiritual pressure than the previous one came at him. Commander Chu, I hope that you'll think carefully before you say anything. After all, once you say something wrong, you may die. The moment these words were spoken, Chu Zheng felt as if the air around the hall had instantly solidified and was filled with killing intent. Looking at the pale-faced Chu Zheng who did not dare to speak, Lu Yuan sneered in his heart. He was the one who would decide the fate of his lucky lady. Let alone a mere commander of the Imperial Guards, even if the Emperor came today, he would be able to make the other party return to where he came from. It was true that he had a steady personality, but it was also because he was very stable that he dared to conclude. Today, he was going to make Great Xia's imperial family swallow this loss. Old Chinda had better keep the hat on well. Kakik. Chapter 60. 60. Not only do I want to NTR you, I also want you to protect me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 60. Not only do I want to NTR you, I also want you to protect me. Translator. Nyo I.bo Studio Editor. Nyo I.bo Studio. In the face of the powerful Lu Yuan, Chu Zheng felt as if he was standing on the edge of a cliff. If he said a single wrong word, he would face the risk of falling to his destruction at any time. To be honest, if he had a choice, he didn't want to come to the Devil Slayers Division at all. After all, it wasn't just ordinary people who were afraid of the Devil Slayers Division. Even martial artists like him wanted to stay away from this place. It must be known that only two types of people could appear in the Devil Slayers Division. One was the practitioners who specialized in combat with demons and strange beings. The other was the demons and strange beings captured by the practitioners. No matter which of these two types, they were both beings with outstanding strength and strange personalities. In the eyes of ordinary people, the Imperial Guards were like ferocious beasts, but here, they were only docile kittens. Under Lu Yuan's terrifying spiritual pressure, Chu Zheng finally made a decision after weighing the pros and cons. He forced his trembling body to stay strong and said, Since Director Green Flame has said so, we will definitely convey these words to His Majesty. We'll go back first to report and won't continue disturbing the Devil Slayers Division. However, just as Chu Zheng was about to leave with his Imperial Guards, Lu Yuan suddenly spoke. Hold on, no, this was too much. It was just too much. He had already said such words, so why was the other party still not letting go of him? He was just a small Imperial Guard commander. Was the other party really not going to give them a way out? Although he thought this in his heart, Chu Zheng did not dare to say these words out loud. He turned around and forced a smile. Director Green Flame, do you have any other orders? If one said he was a coward, he could still speak at this time. But if one said he was not a coward, his legs were trembling badly. Commander Chu, before you go back to report, I have some words for you to convey to His Majesty. Lu Yuan looked at him and said calmly. Humans have their way, and celestials have their paths. His Majesty should know better than me how Lord Su died. What I want to tell you is that if everyone sticks to their duties, there will be no problems. But if someone wants to reach out to places they shouldn't touch, then I hope that they have thought of the consequences of doing so. Alright, you can leave now. Looking at Lu Yuan's departing back, Chu Jing fell into deep thought. Before he had come to the Devil Slayers division, he had roughly understood the ins and outs of the matter. He had thought that this was a simple disaster caused by a beautiful lady. But listening to the words of the new director, things did not seem to be so simple. Could it be that this matter was actually not quite the same as what he had imagined? The new director hadn't taken Su Wan'er away out of lust, but instead due to another secret. At the thought of this, Chu Jing suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Yes, this matter was definitely not that simple. All the directors of the Devil Slayers division had been great cultivators who aspired to become celestials. There was no reason and no way that they would be like ordinary people, unable to think straight at the sight of beautiful women. From the looks of it, Director Green Flame's domineering attitude today might be because he felt that His Majesty had broken the rules, so he used thunderous means to give them a warning. Unfortunately, Eunuch Lee underestimated the methods of the new director and ultimately turned into a pile of ashes after angering the other party. At the thought of this, Chu Jing felt that the water here was very deep. Leave quickly, he must leave quickly. This matter was not something a small Imperial Guard commander like him can solve. Why should a mortal like him join in a fight between celestials? In the study of the Devil Slayers division. Phew! I've finally sent them away. Lu Yuan took off his mask and sank into his seat. After chasing Chu Jing away, Lu Yuan felt that the matter with Su Wan'er had basically come to an end. As a steady person, Lu Yuan hated trouble. Although he wasn't afraid of the Great Xia's imperial family and was certain that they couldn't do anything to him, nothing was absolute in this world. Who knew if there was a terrifying old monster hidden within the Great Xia's imperial family? Although the possibility was small, it was not impossible. That being said, Lu Yuan was willing to give it a shot as long as there was a 98% chance of success. This time, he was certain that there was a 98% chance that the Great Xia's imperial family would suffer in silence. Hence, he decisively made a move and obtained the luck item, as well as the second lucky lady. It was very simple. As a successor disciple of the Qinyan sect, Lu Yuan must not die in the Great Xia kingdom no matter what. If such a situation were to happen, the entire Great Xia kingdom would be turned upside down. By then, anyone who had a conflict with Lu Yuan would become the target of the Qinyan sect. Thus, the current Great Xia's imperial family did not dare to attack him. Rather, they even had to think of ways to protect him. The stronger Lu Yuan's attitude towards Great Xia's imperial family was, the safer he would be. This was one of the key reasons why Lu Yuan was so strong-willed. He was trying to divert the disaster. He wanted to create a scene where there was a huge conflict between him and the Great Xia kingdom's imperial family, which would make it so that the other party would have no choice but to think of ways to protect him. With this, the entire Great Xia's imperial family would be forced to become his protective umbrella. It was as if not only had he NTR.ed them, but the latter also had to drive him home safely. It was extremely unreasonable. Of course, Lu Yuan had also considered the disadvantages of doing so. For example, the enemy forces of the Great Xia's imperial family might use this opportunity to plot against him and then push the blame onto the Great Xia's imperial family. Regarding this situation, Lu Yuan's solution was simple. And that was to stay in the Devil Slayers division and never leave. The Devil Slayers division was a subsidiary of the Qinyan sect in the mortal world, so it was not a simple place. One could simply treat the Devil Slayers division's headquarters as a small sect. Not only were there various defensive arrays in the Devil Slayers division, but there was also a teleportation array in the depths of the headquarters. This was to allow the people here to leave immediately in the event of an emergency. Even if core formation stage cultivators came, Lu Yuan would be able to escape safely. Thus, as long as he stayed in the Devil Slayers division and did not move, nothing would happen to him. Therefore, one should not underestimate Lu Yuan's rashness this time. In reality, everything was within his control. Others might be able to earn a small profit, but he would never lose. When he thought about it carefully, the great Xia's imperial family was miserable. The number one lucky lady, the demoness Meng Ruyan, had been snatched from Qin Yan. The second lucky lady, Su Waner, had also been snatched from the emperor of Great Xia. The father and son were clearly in different places, but their plans had been ruined by the same guy. God knows if they were too unlucky or if a certain someone was just bad. With the end of today's matter, Su Waner's matter was almost over as well. He wouldn't hand her over, and the imperial family of the Great Xia wouldn't dare to continue to demand for her. Even if the emperor of the Great Xia kingdom was unhappy, he could only swallow this loss in silence. He would have to wear the hat properly. At the thought of this, Lu Yuan could not help but cackle. Kakik. Great Xia Kingdom, Imperial Palace, Imperial Study. Bang! The Great Xia Kingdom's emperor, Chenda, furiously threw the vase in his hand at Chu Zheng. Chu Zheng did not dare to dodge and allowed the vase to smash into his head. I asked you to go to the Devil Slayers division and bring her back. In the end, not only did you not bring her back, but you also left with your tail between your legs. What's the use of keeping you? In the face of the furious Emperor Chenda, Chu Zheng could only lower his head and take the scolding. He did not dare to say a word. Seeing Chu Zheng like this, Chenda finally calmed down after taking a few breaths. He looked at Chu Zheng and said with a dark expression, "Did the new director of the Devil Slayers division really tell you that he meddled in this matter because of the existence of demons?" "Your Majesty, that is indeed what Director Green Flame said," Chu Zheng replied in a low voice. Upon hearing this, Emperor Chenda's expression became unfathomable. In the end, he seemed to have thought of something and waved his hand at Chu Zheng. All right. You may leave. I need to rest. As for Su Waner, let's drop this." Chu Zheng secretly heaved a sigh of relief when he heard this. "One will do as you command." After Chu Zheng left, Chenda's eyes gradually became meaningful. Then, he stood up and walked to the bookshelf behind him. The next second, the bookshelf slowly opened. In the Imperial Study, there was a secret passage that no one knew about. After making sure that no one was around, Chenda walked into the secret passage and disappeared.